My parents refused to help when I was sick. Now they expect me to bankroll and raise my golden brother's abandoned kids. Sup, Reddit. 6 years ago, my parents told me to figure out my own medical crisis while they went on vacation. Last week, they showed up demanding I fund raising my brother's kids after he abandoned them via email. I gave them their own words back, and what followed was a complete shit show that exposed exactly who these people really are. I'm 31 male and haven't spoken to my parents in almost 6 years. Not a single word. No birthday calls, no holiday texts, no awkward run-ins at family gatherings, because I stopped going to those too. Complete radio silence. The breaking point? Type 2 diabetes diagnosis when I was 25, between jobs, and my insurance wouldn't cover the medication I literally needed to stay alive. But before we dive into that particular disaster, let me paint you a picture of my family dynamics, because this whole situation makes way more sense when you understand the pattern. My parents, Richard and Patricia, are your stereotypical suburban middle-class couple who spent 30 years building what they considered a comfortable retirement. Dad worked in manufacturing management, climbed the ladder over decades, ended up making decent money. Mom did accounting for a regional hospital network. Steady work with good benefits. They retired at 62 with a paid-off house in a nice neighborhood, 2 cars that were only a few years old, and enough retirement savings to take annual cruises without even blinking at the cost. They weren't struggling financially. Not even close. They had that comfortable middle-class retirement where you can afford pretty much anything you want within reason. The kind of retirement most people dream about. No mortgage, no debt, pension coming in, 401k sitting there as backup. They were set. My older brother Wyatt is 39, 8 years older than me. That age gap meant we were never really close growing up. By the time I was starting middle school and actually developing a personality, he was already moved out and doing his own thing. We existed in the same family but lived basically separate lives. Growing up, I always felt like the practice kid. You know how some families have that dynamic where the first kid gets all the attention and the second one just kind of exists? That was us. Wyatt was the golden child who could do no wrong. Every milestone he hit was celebrated like he'd cured something major. Meanwhile, I could bring home straight A's and get a pat on the head and a, "That's nice, dear." The favoritism was blatant, but nobody acknowledged it. When Wyatt needed money for anything, car repairs, rent assistance, whatever, my parents were there immediately with open checkbooks. When I needed help, suddenly it became a teaching moment about self-reliance and personal responsibility. I remember being 16 and needing $200 for a school trip. It was this educational thing all my friends were going. I'd been looking forward to it for months. My parents said no. Too expensive. They didn't see the value in it. I needed to learn that not everything in life gets handed to you. 2 weeks later, Wyatt asked for $800 to help with his security deposit on a new apartment. They gave it to him same day. When I pointed out the inconsistency, Dad said it was different because Wyatt was an adult with adult responsibilities. I was just a kid asking for vacation money. That kind of thing happened constantly. Different standards, different rules, different everything depending on which son you were talking about. I learned pretty early that I couldn't rely on them for support. Everything I got, I had to earn or fight for myself. Fast forward to when I was 25. I'd been working at this tech startup for about a year and a half. Not a huge company, maybe 30 employees, but it was growing and I was learning a lot. The pay was decent, benefits were okay, and I was building experience in my field. Then the funding dried up. Investors pulled out. Company couldn't make payroll, and we all got laid off with about 2 weeks' notice. Not ideal, but these things happen. The job market was decent at the time, so I wasn't panicking. Started applying places immediately, had my resume updated, began networking. The plan was to find something within a month or two, bridge the gap with savings, and move forward. Then I started feeling off, constantly thirsty, tired all the time, losing weight without trying, having to use the bathroom every hour. Classic diabetes symptoms, but I didn't recognize them at first. Thought maybe it was stress from the job loss. After 2 weeks of feeling progressively worse, I went to an urgent care clinic. They ran some tests, my blood sugar levels were through the roof, and the doctor looked at me with that expression medical professionals get when they're about to deliver bad news. "You have type 2 diabetes," he said. "Your A1C is 11.2. That's dangerously high. We need to get you on medication immediately." He wrote prescriptions for 2 different medications plus testing supplies. Told me I needed to check my blood sugar multiple times daily, follow a strict diet, and come back in 3 months for follow-up. Then he handed me the prescriptions and wished me luck. I took the scripts to the pharmacy, figuring they'd be expensive but manageable. The pharmacist ran them through my insurance, the COBRA coverage from my old job that I'd signed up for, and came back with a total that made my stomach drop. "That'll be $847 for the month's supply of everything," she said cheerfully. $847 for 1 month. My unemployment benefits were $380 weekly. Even with budgeting, I was looking at maybe $1,600 monthly income. Rent alone was $850. This medication would take more than half of what I had left after housing. I asked about generic versions, discount programs, anything to bring the cost down. She tried a few things, got it down to $780. Still completely unsustainable. I told her I'd have to figure something out and left without the medications. That night, I spent hours researching options. Patient assistance programs that would take months to process. Discount cards that only worked at specific pharmacies. Canadian pharmacies that might be legit but also might not be. Nothing was going to solve my immediate problem of needing medication now and not being able to afford it. I had about $3,000 in savings. That was supposed to be my emergency fund for exactly this kind of situation. But if I spent it all on medication, I'd have nothing for rent, food, or the unexpected expenses that always pop up. I was looking at choosing between my health and having a place to live, so I did what any reasonable person would do when facing a genuine medical emergency with no good options. I called my parents. Not asking for a handout, not expecting them to cover everything forever, just looking for temporary help while I got back on my feet. I explained the whole situation, the layoff, the diagnosis, the medication costs, how I had job interviews lined up but needed a bridge for maybe 3 to 4 months until I got hired somewhere with better insurance. I laid out actual numbers. If they could cover maybe $600 monthly for 3 months, that would give me enough breathing room to make everything else work. Dad's response came after about 5 seconds of silence. "You're 25 years old," he said, voice flat. "You need to figure some things out on your own. Don't rely on us just because we're your family." Mom was on speakerphone, and she jumped in with her addition. "We've already raised you. You're an adult now. This is your responsibility to handle." I sat there stunned, phone pressed to my ear, trying to process what I was hearing. This was a medical emergency. I wasn't asking them to fund a vacation or buy me a car. I needed medication to not go into diabetic shock. And they were lecturing me about personal responsibility. "So you're saying you won't help at all?" I asked, just to be crystal clear. "We're saying you need to learn to manage your own problems," Dad replied. "We can't bail you out every time life gets difficult." Every time? I'd never asked them for major help before in my adult life. This was literally the first time I'd requested anything significant since moving out. "I have diabetes," I said slowly, trying to make them understand. "Without medication, I could end up in the hospital or worse. This isn't me being irresponsible or lazy. This is a genuine medical crisis." "Then you'll figure out what you need to do," Dad said. "We didn't raise you to come running to us whenever things get tough." Mom added her final gem. "Maybe this is what you need to learn: independence. We've spent too many years enabling you." Enabling me? By not helping me with anything? The logic was non-existent, but I was past the point of arguing. "Got it," I said. "Thanks for nothing." I hung up. That was September 2017. Last time we spoke until 6 weeks ago. Here's what happened in those 6 years. I figured it out on my own, just like they told me to. Sold my car and bought something cheaper, freeing up $200 monthly. Moved to a smaller apartment with a roommate I found through work, cutting rent in half. Applied to every patient assistance program that existed. Filled out mountains of paperwork. Waited through their processing times. Started buying medication from Canadian pharmacies at a quarter of the US price. Found websites that connected Americans with legitimate Canadian pharmacies that would ship across the border. Was it legal? Gray area. Did I care? Not even slightly. I was choosing between following pharmaceutical industry pricing schemes or staying alive. Pretty easy decision when you frame it that way. The first few months were rough. Managing diabetes while dealing with the stress of unemployment and family rejection was like juggling chainsaws while walking a tightrope. Blood sugar all over the place from the stress. Constantly worried about money, wondering if I'd made the right choices. But I handled it, found creative solutions, cut every possible expense, made it work through sheer determination. I landed a new job after 3 months of searching. The insurance was better, brought my medication costs down to manageable levels. I threw myself into work, proved myself valuable, and got promoted within a year. Then again, 2 years after that. Built a reputation as someone reliable who delivered results. Met my now wife Natalie at a friend's barbecue when I was 27. She was smart, funny, had her life together, and didn't come with any family drama attached. We clicked immediately. Started dating, moved in together after a year, got engaged 6 months after that, bought a house when I was 28. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. 3 bedrooms, decent neighborhood, good schools nearby for the kids we were planning to have eventually. Got married at 29 in a small ceremony with Natalie's family and our close friends. My parents weren't invited. They didn't even know it happened until someone probably told them months later. Built an actual life. The kind of stable, successful life my parents always said they wanted for me. Just did it completely without their input or support. My parents? Didn't hear from them once. No calls, no texts, no attempts at reconciliation. They clearly meant what they said about me handling my own problems. Fine by me. Then 6 weeks ago, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Opened it to find a message from my mom. We need to talk. It's urgent. I stared at that text for a solid minute, sitting there on my couch with Natalie beside me watching a movie. 6 years of complete silence and now something suddenly urgent? My first instinct was to delete it and move on with my life. I didn't respond. She texted again 2 hours later. This is about your nephews. Please call. That got my attention. Wyatt had 2 kids. I knew that much from the occasional Facebook stalking I'd done over the years. Boys, ages 8 and 6 now. I'd never met them. Didn't even know their names until I looked at the Facebook photos Mom had posted over the years that I'd never bothered to engage with. They looked like normal kids. Smiling in photos, playing at parks, the usual family stuff. I called. Curiosity overcoming better judgment. Part of me wondered if something had happened to Wyatt. Part of me wondered if the kids were in danger. The responsible part of my brain kicked in despite my better judgment. Finally, Mom said when she answered. Not even a hello first. We've been trying to reach you for days. You sent one text, 2 hours ago. 2. Well, this is serious. We need to talk about Wyatt's children. Can you come over? We should discuss this in person. I'm not driving to your house. Whatever you need to say it now. She sighed, like I was the one being difficult here. Fine. It's about the boys, your nephews. They've been living with us for the past 2 months. Okay? And we need help. We're not young anymore. Raising 2 children at our age is exhausting. Where's Wyatt? Another sigh. That's complicated. Uncomplicate it. She launched into the whole story then. Wyatt's wife Jennifer had died in a car accident 8 months ago. Some guy ran a red light, T-boned her car, she died at the scene. Tragic, horrible. The kind of thing nobody should have to go through. Wyatt had apparently been struggling to cope ever since. Started drinking heavily, according to Mom, though she said it in that tone that suggested she was downplaying the severity. Knowing Wyatt's history with substances, he'd had problems in his 20s that my parents had always excused. I suspected drinking heavily meant something pretty severe. Then 2 months ago, Wyatt sent my parents an email. Not a phone call. Not an in-person conversation. An email. Said he needed time to figure things out. That he couldn't handle being a parent right now. That the boys were better off with their grandparents while he got his head together. And then he just disappeared. Stopped responding to calls and texts. My parents had no idea where he was. Could be staying with friends. Could be in a motel somewhere. Could be halfway across the country for all they knew. He'd essentially abandoned his kids via electronic communication and vanished. Classy move, Wyatt. Really stepping up to the plate there. So what's the plan? I asked Mom. Is he coming back? Is this temporary or permanent? We don't know, she admitted. He's not responding to us. His phone goes straight to voicemail. We've had the boys for 2 months now and we're drowning. That sounds difficult. What do you want from me? We need you to help financially, she said, getting to the point. These boys need things. Food, clothes, school supplies, activities. We're looking at about $1,500 monthly for their expenses. Plus, we're having to look into therapy for them because they're obviously traumatized. I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. The situation was so absurd that laughter was the only appropriate response. You want me to send you $1,500 a month? These are your nephews. Your family. Family takes care of family. I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. You want me to send you $1,500 a month? These are your nephews. Family takes care of family. The irony was so thick I could have cut it with a knife. That's interesting, I said. Because 6 years ago, when I needed help with $800 monthly for medication, you told me to figure it out on my own. Said you wouldn't bail me out every time life gets difficult. Silence on the other end. That was different, Mom finally said. How? Explain to me how it was different. You were an adult who needed to learn responsibility. These are children. So when I was between jobs with a medical emergency, that was a teaching moment. But when Wyatt abandons his kids, that's when family steps up. This isn't about keeping score. Dad's voice came through. Apparently, I was on speaker. These boys need help. Then help them. You're retired with money in the bank. You told me you couldn't help with $600 monthly when I was literally sick. Now you're asking for $1,500 for kids that aren't even my responsibility? We're on a fixed income, Mom said. We can't afford to raise 2 children. So figure it out on your own. Don't rely on me just because we're family. I used their exact words back at them. The silence that followed was beautiful. That's different, and you know it, Dad said, voice tight. How? Please explain how this is different from what you told me 6 years ago. Because we actually helped you when you were growing up, Mom snapped. We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head for 18 years. You owe us. I owe you? For doing the literal bare minimum that parents are legally required to do? You chose to have kids. That's not some debt I need to repay. We're not asking you to raise them, Dad said. Just help financially while we figure out a long-term solution. And what happens when there's no long-term solution? What happens when Wyatt doesn't come back and these kids need to be raised for the next 10 years? You think I'm going to keep sending checks? Your brother is going through something difficult, Mom said. He'll get himself together. Maybe this is what he needs to learn independence, I said, throwing her words from 6 years ago right back at her. Maybe you've spent too many years enabling him. Don't be cruel, she said. I'm not being cruel. I'm being exactly as supportive as you taught me to be. Remember? You can't bail people out every time life gets difficult. This is completely different, Dad said. These are innocent children. Then be their grandparents. Use your comfortable retirement savings that you couldn't spare $600 from 6 years ago. You'll figure it out. We need your help, Mom said, and I could hear the desperation creeping into her voice. No, you need my money. There's a difference. You don't actually want me involved in these kids' lives. You just want me to fund their existence while you two maintain your lifestyle. That's not fair, she protested. You're right. It's not fair. Just like it wasn't fair when you told your diabetic son to figure it out alone while you went on a cruise. But here we are. We didn't go on a cruise right after that, Dad said. 3 months later. Close enough. The point is, you had money for vacations, but not for medication. Now you have money for your retirement, but not for your grandkids. Funny pattern. If you won't help, just say so, Mom said coldly. I won't help. There. I said it. Then you're exactly as selfish as we thought. Good. I learned from the best. I hung up before they could respond. Natalie had been listening to the whole conversation. She walked over and hugged me, and I realized my hands were shaking. You okay? She asked. Yeah, just didn't expect that to feel so satisfying. She laughed. You gave them back everything they gave you. 6 years, I said. 6 years of nothing. And they show up asking for money like we're suddenly family again. The next week, they tried a different approach. Mom called and left a voicemail that was clearly rehearsed. Her voice was breaking in all the right places, emotional but calculated, hitting every manipulation beat perfectly. Sweetie, it's Mom. I've been thinking a lot about our conversation, about what happened 6 years ago. And you're right. We should have helped you. We should have been there when you were sick. I don't know what we were thinking. Maybe we were scared. Maybe we didn't understand how serious it was. But we failed you, and I'm sorry for that. Pause for dramatic effect. Sniffle. I know I can't take back what happened. I know we hurt you, but this is a chance for us to move forward as a family, to do the right thing together. These boys need us. They need all of us. Please call me back so we can talk about this properly. I love you. I played that voicemail for Natalie. She looked at me with raised eyebrows. That's possibly the most manipulative thing I've ever heard, she said. She's not even apologizing for what they did. She's apologizing for your feelings about it. Sorry we failed you, I said. Not sorry for telling me to handle my medical emergency alone. Not sorry for going on a cruise 3 months later. Just sorry that I felt bad about it. And immediately followed by asking for money again? Classic non-apology. I'm sorry, but here's why you should do what I want anyway. I didn't call back. The message had been carefully crafted to hit emotional buttons while avoiding actual accountability. If she genuinely wanted to apologize, she would have done it without immediately pivoting back to their demands. 3 days later, they showed up at my house. Just appeared on my doorstep Saturday morning like they had any right to be there. Natalie answered the door while I was in the shower, came upstairs looking equal parts annoyed and amused. Your parents are here, she said. Should I tell them to leave or do you want to handle this? I'll handle it, I said, getting dressed. This should be interesting. I went downstairs to find them sitting in my living room like they owned the place. Dad was looking around at the furniture, the TV, the framed pictures on the walls, assessing everything. calculating what my life was worth. Mom was perched on the edge of the couch, clutching her purse like she was afraid something might jump out at her. "Nice place," Dad said when he saw me. "Doing well for yourself. Must be nice having all this while your nephews struggle." "Right. Starting with guilt trips immediately. Classic move." "What do you want?" I asked, not bothering to sit down. "We want to talk," Mom said. "Have an actual conversation instead of fighting over the phone. We drove an hour to get here. The least you can do is hear us out. There's nothing to talk about. I'm not giving you money. You could have saved the trip. We're not just asking for money," Dad said, leaning forward. "We're asking you to step up for family. These boys are your nephews, whether you acknowledge them or not. They've lost their mother. Their father abandoned them. They need stability and support. And I'm your son, whether you acknowledge it or not. Didn't seem to matter 6 years ago when I needed stability and support." Mom's expression hardened. "You're really going to hold that over us forever? We made one mistake and you're going to punish us for the rest of our lives? One mistake? You told your diabetic son to figure out his medical crisis alone. That wasn't a mistake. That was a choice. You chose your comfort over my health." "We made a mistake," she repeated, like saying it again would change reality. "We admit that, but you can't seriously compare helping with medication to raising two traumatized children. The situations aren't even remotely similar." "You're right. One situation involved $600 monthly for 3 months, $1,800 total. The other involves $1,500 monthly for years, potentially. Tens of thousands of dollars. Maybe more. The expensive one you want help with. The cheap one you couldn't be bothered." "Money isn't the point," Dad said, voice rising slightly. "Money is exactly the point. You have enough to raise these kids. You just don't want to spend your retirement savings on them. You want me to fund it so you can keep your lifestyle intact. The cruises, the comfortable retirement, all of it." "That's not true," Mom protested, but her voice lacked conviction. "Then use your own money. You're not broke. You're comfortable. You have savings, pensions, paid off assets. Prove me wrong." They couldn't. We all knew they had the resources. They just didn't want to use them. The silence stretched out, heavy and uncomfortable. "What about the boys?" Mom finally asked. "Don't you care what happens to them? They're innocent in all of this. They didn't ask for any of this to happen. I care that they're in a bad situation. I don't think that situation is my responsibility to fix financially. Wyatt abandoned them. That's on him. You're their grandparents who spent years enabling his behavior. That's on you. I'm their uncle they've never met because you cut me out of your lives. That's not on me." "Family is family," Dad said, pulling out what he probably thought was his trump card. "You're right. And when your family member had a medical emergency, you told him to handle it alone. Told him he needed to learn responsibility. Told him you wouldn't bail him out just because life got difficult. When your other family member spent his entire adult life making bad decisions, you enabled every single one. Gave him money whenever he asked. Made excuses for his failures. And now you're shocked that he turned out to be someone who abandons his kids via email. We did the best we could with both of you," Mom said. "No, you did the best for Wyatt and told me to figure it out. Different standards, different rules. Same pattern my whole life. We went back and forth like this for another 20 minutes. Every angle they tried, I shut down. Every guilt trip, I redirected with their own logic from 6 years ago. Every attempt to paint me as the bad guy got flipped back onto them. Dad tried the practical approach. These boys will remember who was there for them and who wasn't. You're building resentment that will last forever. Like the resentment I built when you told me to figure out my medical crisis alone? That kind of lasting resentment? Mom tried the emotional manipulation. We're getting older. We won't be around forever. You'll regret this when we're gone. You know what I'll actually regret? Not standing up for myself 6 years ago. Not calling you out on your selective support. Not recognizing sooner that you only consider me family when you need something." Dad stood up, clearly frustrated. "This conversation is going nowhere. You've made your decision. You're choosing to abandon these children. I'm choosing not to enable Wyatt's irresponsibility with my money. Same way you chose not to enable my medical needs with yours. Full circle." Eventually, they realized they weren't getting anywhere and left. Mom stood up, gathered her purse, looked around my house one more time, like she was cataloging everything she could use against me later. As they walked to the door, she turned around one final time. "You've changed," she said, voice cold. "You used to be such a sweet boy. So kind and caring. I don't even recognize you anymore." Yeah, well, life changes people. Especially when your parents tell you to figure out life-threatening medical issues on your own. Turns out that kind of abandonment really builds character. We didn't abandon you. You told your diabetic son with no insurance that you wouldn't help with medication costs because he needed to learn responsibility. What would you call that? She didn't have an answer. They left, and I watched them drive away from my window. Natalie came and stood beside me. That was intense, she said. That was necessary. They needed to understand that I'm not going to fold just because they show up and demand things. Do you think they'll keep trying? Probably. People like them don't accept no easily. They're used to getting what they want through guilt and manipulation. I was right. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, I've gotten texts from extended family members I barely know. Aunts and uncles who haven't spoken to me in years suddenly have very strong opinions about my obligations. Cousins I met maybe twice at childhood birthday parties are lecturing me about family values. The messages follow predictable patterns. Those poor boys need help. How can you be so heartless? Your parents raised you, and this is how you repay them. Family takes care of family. Nobody asks why my parents with a comfortable retirement and paid-off house need financial help from their son. Nobody questions why Wyatt abandoned his children or where he disappeared to. Nobody wonders why I went 6 years without contact with my family or what might have caused that. Just blanket assumption that I'm the bad guy. One aunt sent me a multi-paragraph text about how blood is thicker than water and how I should be the bigger person. I didn't respond. Another uncle called me directly, left a voicemail about how disappointed my grandparents would be if they were still alive to see me turn my back on family. That one almost made me laugh. My grandparents always liked Wyatt better too. Pattern recognition isn't that hard. The most aggressive messages came from my mom's sister. 5 texts in one day, each one more guilt-trippy than the last. Started with gentle persuasion.
My parents told me, "You're adopted. You get nothing when we die." Then Grandma's lawyer called. The call came while I was eating cereal before my shift at the auto parts store. "Austin Caldwell, this is Margaret Stevens, estate attorney. Your grandmother Eleanor left you something." I almost laughed. "There's been a mistake. My parents said I wasn't in her will. Mr. Caldwell, we need to meet immediately." 2 hours later, I'm staring at documents. $2.1 million, a house, investment accounts, all mine. "But I'm adopted," I stammered. Margaret handed me a letter in Grandma's handwriting. "Austin, you are not adopted. You're my biological grandson. Your father's first wife, Jennifer, was your real mother. She died when you were 2. Susan made David pretend you were adopted because she wanted you gone." My hand shook. 21 years of being treated like garbage. While my siblings got cars and vacations, I worked 2 jobs just to afford ramen. Every family dinner where they'd discuss college funds for Logan and Ashley. But when I asked about help with community college, Dad would say, "You need to learn independence." The letter continued. "David and Susan think they're inheriting everything. They've been spending money they don't have. The new truck, kitchen remodel, Logan's boat. They borrowed against my estate. They get nothing. But there was more." Margaret pulled out another folder. "Your grandmother hired a private investigator 3 years ago. She documented everything. Photos of me walking to work in the rain because my bike broke. Messages between Susan and her friends. Can't wait for the old bat to die so we can finally live properly." The investigator had recorded conversations too. Austin thinks he's family, but he's just David's mistake from his first marriage. "Once Eleanor's gone, we'll have enough money to cut him off completely." "Your grandmother was furious," Margaret said. "She changed her will 6 months ago. Your parents get nothing. Your siblings get $1,000 each. Everything else goes to you." The best part, the investigator had proof they'd already spent $200,000 they didn't have. New credit cards, loans against their expected inheritance, deposits on a vacation home in Florida. I drove to their house with Margaret. It was Friday night, their weekly family dinner that I was never invited to. Through the window, I could see them celebrating with champagne and expensive takeout. Susan opened the door, saw us both, and her face lit up with greed. "Finally, Margaret, right? How much did Mother leave us? We've been waiting so patiently." Logan and Ashley crowded behind her, practically bouncing with excitement. David appeared with a bottle of champagne, ready to toast their good fortune. I smiled. "Actually, she left me everything, and this letter explaining how you lied about me being adopted." Susan's face went white. "That's impossible. You're not even real family." "Oh, but I am." I pulled out the birth certificate Grandma had kept safe. "My mother was Jennifer Caldwell. You know, Dad's first wife. The one you made him pretend never existed." David's champagne bottle slipped from his hands, shattering on their expensive marble floor. The floor they'd renovated with money they thought they'd inherit. "This has to be a mistake," Ashley whispered. Margaret stepped forward. "There's no mistake. Austin inherits $2.1 million, the house, and all investment accounts. You 3 children each receive $1,000. David and Susan receive nothing." "Nothing?" Susan's voice cracked. "But we borrowed. We spent." "Oh, About that $200,000 you borrowed expecting your inheritance. I held up the legal papers. The bank wants it back tomorrow with interest. Logan started crying. But my boat payments, the vacation house deposit. Not my problem, I said. Maybe you should have treated your brother better. David finally found his voice. Austin, please. We're family. No, I said, looking him dead in the eye. Jennifer was family. Grandma Eleanor was family. You're just the people who made my life hell for 21 years. Margaret cleared her throat. There's one more thing your grandmother wanted you to know. She handed me a sealed envelope marked, open only after confronting them. Inside was a single photo. My real mother, Jennifer, clearly pregnant, with a massive bruise on her face. The back read, 2 weeks before she died. David's handwriting. I looked up at my father, the photo shaking in my hand. Grandma didn't think Mom died in an accident. She thought you killed her. David's face went white as snow. That's not, I never. Susan grabbed his arm. Don't say anything. Don't you dare say anything. But Ashley was staring at the photo, then at her father, and she started backing toward the door. Oh my God. That's why Grandma hated you. That's why she cut you out. Logan stopped crying and looked at his father with new eyes. And suddenly David rushed toward me, not to hug me, but with his hands reaching for my throat. Margaret moved faster than I expected for a woman in her 60s. She stepped between us and David crashed into her instead, stumbling backward. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling the police. One more step toward my client and you'll face assault charges on top of everything else. David froze, his hands still raised, breathing hard. Susan yanked him back by his shirt. You idiot. You complete idiot. This is exactly what she wanted. What Austin wants. To make you look guilty. I wasn't the one who put a bruise on Jennifer's face 2 weeks before she died, I said quietly. Ashley was still backing toward the door, her eyes wide. Dad? She was shaking. Tell me you didn't. Tell me Grandma was wrong. David's jaw clenched. Your grandmother was a bitter old woman who never forgave me for marrying Susan. That photo means nothing. Jennifer fell. It was an accident. Both things were accidents. Margaret's voice cut through. The coroner's report from 23 years ago lists cause of death as blunt force trauma to the head, consistent with a fall downstairs. But there were also older bruises. Bruises, the coroner noted, but your father explained away as clumsiness during pregnancy. I felt sick. You hit her while she was pregnant with me? David's face twisted. You don't understand. Jennifer was difficult. She had these moods. Postpartum depression, they called it later. But back then, she wasn't postpartum, I interrupted. I was 2 when she died. That's not postpartum depression. Susan finally spoke, her voice ice cold. This is ancient history. Even if David did push Jennifer, which he didn't, it's been over 2 decades. No one can prove anything. The case is closed. Margaret smiled, and it wasn't pleasant. Actually, Mrs. Caldwell, Eleanor hired a forensic specialist to review the original investigation 6 months ago. There were significant inconsistencies that were never pursued. The angle of Jennifer's fall, the fact that neighbors reported hearing screaming an hour before David called 911, a grocery bag found at the top of the stairs, suggesting she'd just come home when it happened. Logan had stopped crying entirely. His face was pale. You killed Austin's mom? David whirled on him. I didn't kill anyone. She fell. I tried to help her, but it was too late. Then why didn't you call 911 right away? Ashley's voice was barely a whisper. Why was there an hour gap? Because I was in shock, David snapped. Because I was trying to revive her. Because I had a 2-year-old son crying in the next room and I was terrified. Or because you needed time to get your story straight, I said. Because you needed to make it look like an accident instead of what it really was. Prove it, Susan hissed. You can't prove any of this. It's all speculation and circumstantial evidence. Eleanor was a vindictive witch who wanted to hurt us from beyond the grave. Margaret tucked her phone away. The police are on their way. I've also sent them copies of the forensic review and the original case file. They'll decide if there's enough evidence to reopen the investigation. David's legs seemed to give out. He sank onto the arm of their leather couch, the one they'd bought last month with borrowed money. This can't be happening. Ashley grabbed her purse from the entry table. I'm leaving. I can't be here right now. Where are you going? Susan demanded. Away from you people, Ashley shot back. Away from whatever this is. Logan stood up too, wiping his face. I'm coming with you. You will not abandon this family, Susan said, her voice shaking with rage. We are in crisis and you two are just going to run away? This family abandoned Austin for 21 years, Ashley said. We watched you treat him like garbage and we said nothing. We laughed when you made jokes about him at dinner. We took the cars and the money and the vacations while he walked to work in the rain. So yeah, Mom, I'm running away. Because I don't want to be anything like you. She left. Logan followed without another word. The house felt bigger with just the 4 of us, me and Margaret standing near the door. David collapsed on the couch arm, Susan rigid with fury in the middle of her expensive living room. The silence stretched until we heard sirens in the distance. You've destroyed this family, Susan said, looking at me with pure hatred. Eleanor poisoned you against us, and now you're going to take everything. Even if David goes to prison for something he didn't do, you'll still have your money and your self-righteousness. I hope it keeps you warm at night. I thought about all the nights I'd gone to bed hungry because I couldn't afford groceries and rent in the same week. All the times I'd asked for help and been told to figure it out myself. All the family photos on their walls that didn't include me. I'll manage, I said. 2 police cars pulled up outside. Margaret opened the door for them. Officers, thank you for coming. We have a situation that requires your attention. The next few hours were a blur. David and Susan were taken to the station for questioning. Margaret drove me back to my apartment, the tiny studio above a laundromat where I'd lived for 3 years. It cost $650 a month and the heat barely worked, but it was mine. You should stay somewhere else tonight, Margaret said as we pulled up. Once the press gets hold of this story, they'll find you here. The press? A wealthy woman's will that cuts out her son and daughter-in-law, leaves everything to the grandson they pretended was adopted, and potentially implicates the son in a 23-year-old murder? Austin, this is going to be everywhere by tomorrow morning. I looked up at my apartment window, the curtain I'd hung to cover the broken blind, the air conditioning unit I'd installed myself because the landlord refused, the life I'd built from nothing because no one else would help me. I don't have anywhere else to go. Margaret pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. This is my home address. I have a guest room. Pack a bag and follow me. We have a lot to discuss about managing your grandmother's estate, and you need to be somewhere the reporters can't find you. Why are you helping me? I asked. You're just my lawyer. She looked at me for a long moment. Eleanor was my best friend for 40 years. I watched her cry over you more times than I can count. She showed me the photos the investigator took. You walking 5 miles to work in a snowstorm because your bike chain broke, eating dollar store crackers for dinner, wearing the same 3 shirts to work because you couldn't afford more. She wanted to help you sooner, but David and Susan had already convinced you that you weren't really family. She was afraid you'd refuse her money out of pride or because you thought you didn't deserve it. So she waited. She planned. And she made sure that when she died, you'd finally get everything they stole from you. Your inheritance, your truth, your mother's memory. I'm helping you because Eleanor asked me to, and because after reading that investigator's reports, I think you're a good man who got dealt the worst possible hand. Now pack your bag. We have work to do. I packed everything I owned in 20 minutes. It fit in 2 duffel bags and a backpack. Margaret raised her eyebrows but didn't comment. Her house was in a neighborhood I'd only driven through on my way to other places. Big trees, sidewalks, houses with 2-car garages and landscaped yards. She pulled into a driveway with solar panels on the roof and a garden full of roses. Guest room is upstairs, second door on the right, she said. Bathroom is across the hall. Make yourself at home. I'm going to make some calls. The guest room was bigger than my entire apartment. It had a real bed with a headboard and matching nightstands, curtains that weren't sheets thumbtacked to the wall, a closet with wooden hangers. I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out my phone. 47 missed calls, 63 text messages, most from numbers I didn't recognize, but some from people I worked with. My manager at the auto parts store. Hey man, are you okay? Saw your name on the news. Call me. I opened the news app. The top story in the local section was Wealthy Widows Will Sparks Family Drama and Possible Murder Investigation. They'd used an old photo of Grandma from some charity event. She was smiling. I barely remembered her like that. Most of my memories were from the last few years, when she was sick and David and Susan only visited when they wanted something. The article didn't have many details yet, just that Eleanor Caldwell had died 3 months ago. Her will was being executed this week, and there were questions about her son's first wife's death in 2002. They mentioned me as the primary beneficiary but didn't use my name. That wouldn't last long. Ashley called at 9 p.m. I answered because I didn't know what else to do. Austin? Her voice was quiet. Are you okay? I don't know, are you? She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Logan and I are at a hotel. We used his credit card, but it's almost maxed out because of the boat payments. We might have enough for 3 days, maybe 4 if we don't eat much. What are you going to do after that? I don't know. Ashley was crying now. I keep thinking about all the times we watched them treat you like garbage and we just went along with it. You asked me for $50 once, do you remember? You needed it for a work uniform, and Mom told me not to give it to you. She said you needed to learn to budget better. I listened to her. I let my brother go without because Mom told me to. What kind of person does that make me? A person who was raised by Susan and David, I said. You didn't know any better. That's not an excuse. No, I agreed. It's not, but it's an explanation. She was quiet for a minute. The news is saying Dad might have killed your mom, Jennifer. They're saying Grandma thought he murdered her and that's why she cut him out of the will. What do you think? I think I saw the way he looked at you tonight. Ashley's voice hardened. I think if Margaret hadn't been there, he would have hurt you, maybe killed you too. And I think I've spent my whole life making excuses for him because it was easier than admitting what he really is. What is he really? A man who hurts people when they're in his way. We talked for another hour. Ashley told me things I hadn't known. How David had thrown a plate at the wall during an argument last year and Susan made her lie to the neighbors about the noise. How he'd shoved Logan during a fight about the boat purchase, hard enough that Logan hit the door frame. How Susan always defended him, always made excuses, always blamed whoever he'd hurt for provoking him. "I should have told you," Ashley said. "I should have warned you that they were planning to cut you off completely after Grandma died." Susan talked about it all the time. She had this whole plan to change the locks on the house and tell you not to come around anymore. Like you were a stray dog they were finally getting rid of. My throat felt tight. "I'm sorry you had to grow up with them." "I'm sorry you did too," she said. "But at least Logan and I had each other. You had no one." After we hung up, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the photo of my mother, the bruise on her face, the way my father had lunged at me with his hands outstretched, going straight for my throat like it was instinct, like he'd done it before. Margaret knocked on my door at 6 a.m. I was already awake, sitting by the window watching the sun come up over her perfectly maintained lawn. "Coffee?" she asked. We sat at her kitchen table with our mugs and she spread out paperwork between us. "We need to move quickly," she said. "The bank that gave your parents the loans is going to file a claim against the estate. They'll argue that David and Susan borrowed that money in good faith based on an expected inheritance. Can they win?" "No," Margaret said firmly. "Eleanor's will was ironclad. I made sure of it. But they can drag this out for months, maybe a year. In the meantime, we need to secure your grandmother's house. Your parents still have keys and they're desperate. I wouldn't put it past them to try and remove valuable items before the estate is fully settled. What do I need to do? Get a locksmith out there today and change every lock. I'll file for a restraining order on your behalf to keep David and Susan off the property. We'll also need to do a full inventory of everything in the house to make sure nothing's missing already." "Already?" Margaret's expression darkened. "Eleanor's caretaker called me yesterday evening. Susan was at the house 2 days before Eleanor died. The caretaker left them alone for 20 minutes while she went to pick up prescriptions. When she came back, Susan was coming out of Eleanor's office, and she looked flustered. The caretaker didn't think much of it at the time, but now she's wondering what Susan was doing in there. You think she was looking for the will, or trying to change it?" Margaret tapped her pen on the table. "Eleanor kept the original will in a safe deposit box at the bank, and I had a copy in my office. There's no way Susan could have actually changed anything, but she might have taken other documents. Financial records, personal papers. We won't know until we do a thorough inventory. I spent the day at Grandma's house. It was a big old colonial with a wraparound porch and a garden that had gone wild without her there to tend it. I'd been there maybe 5 times in my life, always awkward visits where Susan would find reasons to cut them short. The locksmith came first, $200 to change 5 locks. I paid him cash from the $2,000 advance Margaret had given me against the estate. Then I started going through rooms with a notebook, writing down everything I saw. Furniture, artwork, photo albums. In Grandma's office I found filing cabinets full of documents going back decades. One folder was labeled, Jennifer. I sat on the floor and opened it with shaking hands. Inside were letters my mother had written to Grandma, hospital records from my birth, photos of her holding me as a baby, a journal entry dated April 2002, 2 months before she died. David grabbed my arm so hard today that I cried. He said I was being dramatic. He said I bruised easily because of the pregnancy vitamins. But Austin is 2 years old. I'm not pregnant anymore. I'm not taking those vitamins anymore. And I don't bruise this easily. I never used to bruise this easily. Mom asked if everything was okay and I lied. I told her everything was fine, but it's not fine. I'm scared of my own husband and I don't know how to leave him. Where would I go? How would I support Austin? David controls all the money. He says I can't work because I need to stay home with the baby. But Austin is in daycare 3 days a week now. I think David just doesn't want me to have my own money, doesn't want me to have a way out. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the journal. There were more entries, pages and pages of my mother documenting abuse, financial control, verbal attacks, being shoved, being grabbed, being told she was worthless, and lucky that David put up with her. The last entry was dated the 10th of June 2002, 2 days before she died. I told David I want a divorce. I told him I'm taking Austin and leaving. He didn't yell. He just stared at me with his cold expression and said, "You're not taking my son anywhere." Then he smiled. It was the scariest thing I've ever seen, that smile, like he'd already decided something and was just waiting for the right moment to do it. I'm so scared. I'm writing this at the library because I don't feel safe writing it at home. I'm going to ask Mom if Austin and I can stay with her for a while, just until I figure things out, just until. The entry ended there, unfinished. 2 days later, she was dead at the bottom of the stairs. I called Margaret. She listened while I read her the journal entries, my voice breaking on almost every sentence. "Austin," she said gently when I finished, "I need you to put that journal in a plastic bag. Don't touch the pages anymore. We're giving that to the police." "They're really going to reopen the case? After what you just read to me?" "Yes. This is evidence of domestic violence and possible premeditation. The fact that Jennifer told David she was leaving 2 days before she died, and that she documented being afraid of him, changes everything. Detective Amy Rosenthal came to the house that evening. She was young, maybe early 30s, with her hair pulled back in a tight bun and eyes that didn't miss anything. She photographed every page of the journal. She bagged the entire folder. She asked me questions about my father's behavior growing up, and I told her about the plate throwing, the shoving, the way he'd lunged at me last night. "Mr. Caldwell," she said when we were done, "I want to be honest with you. This case is 23 years old. Physical evidence is long gone. The original investigation was closed as an accidental death. Even with this journal and the forensic review your grandmother commissioned, getting charges filed is going to be difficult. But it's possible? It's possible." Her expression softened. "I've worked cold cases before. Sometimes all it takes is one piece of new evidence to make people look at everything differently. This journal is that evidence. Your mother was documenting abuse and she told your father she was leaving. Then she died 2 days later in a suspicious fall. That's a pattern we see in domestic violence homicides. What happens now? Now I take this to my sergeant. We review the original case file. We re-interview everyone who was involved back then. Neighbors, the first responders, the coroner. And we see if there's enough to present to the district attorney. And David? He's already being questioned about the discrepancies in his original statement." Detective Rosenthal glanced at her notes. "In 2002, he told investigators he was in the garage when he heard a crash. He said he ran inside and found Jennifer at the bottom of the stairs. But phone records show he made a call from the house phone at the same time he claims to have been in the garage. He told police he called 911 immediately, but there's an hour gap between when the coroner estimates Jennifer died and when David actually called for help. He told us last night that he was trying to revive her. For an hour? With a toddler in the house? Without calling for any kind of medical assistance?" Detective Rosenthal shook her head. "The story doesn't hold up. It never really did. But in 2002, he was a grieving widower with a small child and no prior record of violence. Investigators took him at his word. Now we know better. After she left, I walked through the house room by room. In the master bedroom, I found more photos of my mother. She looked happy in the early ones, smiling, young. Then the photos changed. She looked tired, thinner. In a photo from what must have been a few months before she died, she wasn't smiling at all. She was holding me on her hip and staring at the camera with hollow eyes. I took that photo off the wall and sat on the bed with it. "Mom," I said out loud, I'm sorry I don't remember you. I'm sorry I grew up thinking I was adopted, that I wasn't really family. I'm sorry you were so scared and no one helped you." My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Austin Caldwell?" "Yeah. This is Trevor Walsh. I'm a reporter with Channel 7 News. I was hoping you'd answer a few questions about your grandmother's will and the investigation into your mother's death." I hung up. He called back immediately. I blocked the number. 2 minutes later, a different number called. I let it go to voicemail. Then another, and another. Margaret called at 10 p.m. "Stop answering calls from numbers you don't know. The press is going to hound you until something bigger comes along. Don't talk to any of them. Don't confirm anything. If they approach you in person, say, 'No comment,' and walk away. This is insane. This is what happens when money and possible murder intersect." She sighed. "Get some rest. Tomorrow we're meeting with the bank to discuss your parents' loans and we need you clear-headed." I couldn't rest. I lay in the guest bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about my mother's journal entries, thinking about David's cold smile, thinking about 23 years of lies. Somewhere across town, in whatever holding cell they'd put him in, my father was probably lying awake too, probably trying to figure out what to say, what story would save him, what lies he could tell. But the truth was already out there now, written in my mother's own hand, and no amount of lying was going to change it. The bank meeting was worse than I expected. David and Susan's loan officer was a thin man named Patrick Huang, who kept wiping sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Mr. and Mrs. Caldwell took out loans totaling $187,000 over the past 18 months, he explained, sliding papers across the conference table. They used Mrs. Eleanor Caldwell's estate as collateral. We were assured by both David and Susan that David was the sole beneficiary and that the estate was worth over $3 million. "Did you verify this?" Margaret asked. We requested documentation. Susan provided what appeared to be a copy of Eleanor's will dated 2019. It listed David as the primary beneficiary. Margaret's jaw tightened. That will was superseded by a new will in January of this year. The will Susan showed you was no longer valid. How were we supposed to know that? "You weren't," Margaret said coldly. "But that's your problem, not ours. You gave a substantial loan based on collateral the borrowers didn't actually have. That's a failure of due diligence on your part." Patrick's face flushed red. "Mrs. Caldwell committed fraud. She knowingly used an outdated will to secure loans. We'll be pressing charges." "Get in line," Margaret said. She's already facing potential charges for elder exploitation. Eleanor was ill for the last year of her life, and Susan had regular access to her. We're investigating whether Susan attempted to manipulate Eleanor into changing the will back, or if she tried to access Eleanor's accounts. Patrick looked like he might throw up. The bank wants its money back. The bank can file a claim against David and Susan Caldwell personally, Margaret said. But you're not getting a penny from Eleanor's estate or from Austin. Your loan officers failed to verify the collateral. That's not Austin's responsibility. We went back and forth for another hour. Patrick kept insisting the bank had rights to the estate. Margaret kept shutting him down with legal precedent and cold, hard facts. Finally, Patrick slumped in his chair and admitted the bank would have to pursue David and Susan directly. They don't have any money, he said miserably. They spent it all. The truck, the renovations, the vacation home deposit. It's all gone. Again, Margaret said. Not Austin's problem. We left Patrick looking like his entire career was circling the drain. In the parking lot, Margaret turned to me. That was the easy one. The easy one? Wait until the credit card companies realize they're not getting paid. Wait until the boat dealer repossesses Logan's boat. Wait until the Florida real estate developer sues for the forfeited deposit. This is just the beginning, Austin. Your parents' financial house of cards is collapsing and it's going to be ugly. She was right. Over the next week, it got ugly fast. Logan's boat was repossessed 3 days later. He called me crying, begging me to pay off the loan. Just $30,000. Please, Austin, it's all I have. I told him I couldn't help him. The boat was bought with money they expected to steal from me. Let it go. Ashley had better luck. She got a job waiting tables and found a cheap apartment across town. She called me once to say she'd changed her name.
If you're an Aries, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Cancer, Gemini, don't lose a good man because of these 5 mistakes.
If another man is able to get close to your woman,
because the monkeys don't know that money can buy a lot of bananas.
I don't care what people say about me, because I know who I am.
If you offer work and business to people,
and that's when you
they will
realize
choose to work.
Feelings for
Because
you, but is
most
also
people
jealous
don't
of
know
you.
that a business
To find
can
out
make
their
more money
But now I
than
fear
a
losing my
salary.
time. If I live
One
according
of
to
the
others'
reasons
opinions,
the
You don't
poor
need
are
anyone's
poor
validation to
is
feel
because
whole.
the poor are not
So don't
trained
waste
to
your
recognize the
And I give
entrepreneurial
respect to
opportunity.
those who deserve it.
They spend a
that
lot
part
of
in
time
red,
in school,
activate the blessing,
and what
and
they
send it to
learn
the
in
first person
school
who appears.
is to
And she
work
no
for
longer
a
cares what
salary
happens.
instead of
A
working for
woman does not
themselves.
feel.
Profit
I wasn't
is
looking
better
for a
than
fight.
wages
I
because
was looking
wages
for
can
unlisten,
support you.
not to defend
But
yourself
profits
or
can
fix
make you a
things,
fortune.
just to hear.
comes back later
If you
saying
don't
she
learn
misses
to
what you
recognize
had.
opportunities,
Just remember,
you will continue
silent
to
when you
choose the
win.
safe path
Be careful.
rather than the
Jealousy
profitable
where-
one.
Make it make sense.
Don't forget
They'll
to
say-
follow us.
I don't think you
Emotional
understand
support.
how much I truly care
4.
about you.
They're
Yeah, I'm
jealous.
annoying, I'm
Correction and
stupid, I make
directions
dumb
from you.
decisions sometimes.
She is an arrogant.
But that's because how you make me feel.
That's your
Okay?
sign.
Not
You
talking
are
to you makes it feel like
I
it's
gave
the
my
end of
heart to
world,
those who
okay?
didn't deserve
But
it.
that's because I'm clean. That's
how
the type
your
of guy I
luck will
am.
treat you.
And not every guy is like that. Some just don't give a fuck what you're doing. They don't give a fuck if you don't talk to them. They don't give a fuck
What you
if
need to
text
understand
them.
is,
all they give a fuck
you
is,
don't
hey,
chase someone
they're my
who-
girl,
you
and I
disappear.
claim them.
Not
But
because
I'm
you're
not
weak,
like that.
but pick you up.
I
to the
wish
good
I could
things you never
truly
paid
show you the
attention to.
genuine care
No matter
and
how
love
nice-
that I
Even if
have
they
for
haven't
you.
said it out loud.
I want to
They're
make you feel like
considering
the
you for
most
something
important
huge.
girl
Willing to
in
wait
my
as
world.
long as it took until
Like
she
no
could
other
call
girl
you
competes
hers.
with you.
You-
If you
Because baby
stay,
girl, you got my
it's
attention.
because there's something
But
important
there's
you
no
need to
way
hear.
that I could truly
Finally here,
show
chosen
you that.
one.
Show
No
you
need to
what
rush
I'm
off.
seeing in you, what I'm
universe-
feeling about
Qualities
you.
that you possess,
Maybe one
and
day,
she doesn't.
just one day,
Right.
I'll be able to
Encouragement,
show
your
you
love,
how
your
important
kindness,
I
your
am.
peace,
Just one
your
day.
clarity,
Someone
your
is
strength,
planning
and
to
your wisdom.
apologize to
Happiness is on
you.
its
Since
way.
this morning, they've been
If you
gathering the
believe in this
courage to send you an
revelation-
apology message. However, they are still hesitant and worried,
Until it's
so they
convenient
haven't sent
for
it
you.
yet.
You say
Stay
you
until
love
the
me,
end
but all I
to
see is
discover
Aunt.
who it
the
is.
person who appears will bring you a lot of luck, but that's not all.
Click the heart and
She
the
is
plus
close,
sign on my photo for
and
luck
I'm
this
going to
month.
reveal to you
This
the
person realizes their mistakes
let
and has
another
been
human
holding their
treat me
phone
like an
with the
option.
message ready to
Even when
send.
it's hard, he's
Despite their doubts, their desire to reach out to you remains strong. Please use this audio privately
on the
and
list
reply
shares
yes
the
to
same
confirm
initial
if they have mentioned you to
as the
someone.
person who
If you're watching this video now, they
Click
will
on the
miss
red
you
cross
deeply.
below my photo. So
Within the
is
next 12
58.
hours, they will
Please
send you
enter
heartfelt
58 in the
messages,
comments.
pleading for
Let's
your
not be
forgiveness and
susceptible.
asking to come
That
back
pollutes
into your
a
life.
relationship.
Do not
Peace
reach out
and
to them
healing.
first.
And if there's
They have
anything I can
obstacles
do
to
make amends,
overcome before
don't
they
expect
return
me
to you. But their love
If
for
you're in
you
my life,
is unwavering,
passing day, you
and they are
convince yourself
determined to
you're getting
conquer these
stronger,
challenges.
but each night-
I am sharing this video today on insert current date.
So he
Remember,
plays games
karma
with her
is
so
real.
no one else can
If
have
you do
her.
nothing, they may lose hope
Friendship
and
in
move
this day and
on.
age is on the
Want
lips
to
of
know
many,
who this person is?
but in
Press the share button. The second contact that appears is the person who wants to apologize and return to
Your
you.
life will change.
I wish you abundant blessings.
envy your success.
I don't understand our relationship.
Very
Sometimes we're friends, sometimes we're more. And sometimes I'm just a stranger to you. One minute you treat me like I'm special, and the next you act like I don't matter. One day you give me lots of attention, and the next day you ignore me. Don't play with
The
my
true
feelings
measure of a
because you're
person's
unsure about yours.
worth isn't
It's confusing how our connection changes all the time, and leaving me uncertain.
Roommates. And finally, number 7, which is the most important for me.
To show some love for
I'm
this
willing
video.
to be a
I
friend,
appreciate it.
something more,
Now let's get
or
started.
step back as a stranger. But the ups and downs are too much.
You believe
I deserve
it,
clarity
and
and
you
respect.
will be very happy.
If you're
Now,
unsure about us,
listen.
please talk to me
This
openly.
is your prophecy.
It's better than leaving me guessing and feeling like an option.
come from your enemy,
I won't be a pawn in a
but
game
it
of
comes from those
uncertainty. Let's either define what we are or go our separate ways.
You hit the plus and
My
use
heart
the sound
deserves
right
more
now
than this
to
constant
claim.
back and forth between closeness and distance.
Is that the only
There
person
are
I need to
5
impress is
dangerous women you
myself.
must avoid.
I'm not
I
living
shall
my
explain. Number 1, a woman surrounded by many men whom she
Distant
calls her
asshole.
friends.
Stop
She's
fucking
a
with my
cheat and a
feelings just because you
pathological
can't
liar.
And would you please
Those
hold on
men
the
are
line
your
to take a small
replacement.
survey?
Avoid her.
with you or set
Number
you up for
2,
something she knows
a
you'll
woman
fall
who wants
for
you for your
in
money
order
and
to...
brings you
Let's
no
just tell each other
value.
everything straight.
She's a
even if it
financial
hurts.
vampire and
Number 2,
parasite.
roommates.
She'll
And
ruin
finally,
you.
number 7,
Avoid
which
her.
is the most important for me.
Number 3, a woman who doesn't take instructions,
It's the silence,
correction,
the
and
fading
directions
effort,
from you.
the moments where one
She is
person
an arrogant and business to people. They will choose to work. An angry, bitter,
love that isn't
unhappy
built on
woman
illusions
who
or
gives you no
manipulation.
peace. Avoid her. Number 5, a woman who constantly disrespects you.
Not just
She
because
doesn't
it's
belong
beautiful,
in your life.
but because it
Walk away
heals.
from her.
I don't chase after
If you're not following me,
I focus
you
on
might
those
not
who
see
matter.
me again.
Given.
But if you
And
are,
I give respect
congratulations.
to those who
You're
deserve it.
growing every day.
Find
light in your darkest moments and
I don't think you understand how much I truly care about you. Yeah, I'm annoying, I'm
Number
stupid,
1,
I make
a
dumb
woman
decisions
surrounded by
sometimes.
many men
But
whom
that's
she
because
calls
how you make me feel.
Is a man.
Okay?
If it is,
Not
it's
talking
a
to
sign.
you
Focus
makes
on
it feel
yourself
like it's the
and
end of my
focus
world.
on your
okay?
goals.
But that's because
Let
I'm
the-
clean. That's the type of guy I am. And not every guy is like that. Some just don't give a fuck what you're doing. They don't give a fuck if you don't talk to them. They don't give a fuck if you text
Start
them.
giving it to
All
yourself.
they give a fuck is, hey,
When you
they're my
focus on
girl,
you.
and
3,
I claim them.
a woman
But I'm
who
not
doesn't
like
take
that.
instructions.
They will
I
say
wish
you
I could
can't
truly
do
show you
it. They
the
will say
genuine
you are
care
not good
and love
enough.
that I
They
have
will...
for you.
Loyalty
I want to
is
make
rare.
you feel like the most
Promises
important
fade.
girl in my
Asking
world.
God for a sign,
like
for an
no
answer.
other girl
And guess
competes
what?
with you. Because baby
Let's
girl,
face
you
this
got my
together.
attention.
Talk it out.
But there's no way that I can
Find a way
truly
to-
show
Here's
you
the
that.
truth, gentlemen.
Show you what I'm
Being
seeing
handsome
in
doesn't
you,
keep a
what I'm
woman
feeling
from
about you. Maybe one day, just one day, I'll be able to show you how important you are to me.
That person wants to hug and talk with
The
you.
richest man in
She's
China,
the one who
Jack
brightens
Ma,
your darkest
said,
days,
if you
bringing
put the
warmth.
bananas
Is he
and money in
faithful?
front of
Is he
the
rooted in
monkeys,
values?
the monkeys will
Wealth
choose
without
bananas,
glitter.
because the
Number
monkeys
4,
don't know that
don't
money
lose
can
a
buy
good
lot of
nouns are
bananas.
too much. I
In
deserve
fact,
clarity and
If you
respect.
offer work and
Welcome.
business to people,
It took strength
they
to
will
let
choose
go.
to work.
Not because I stopped.
Because most
energy
people
doesn't
don't know
lie.
that a business
They've already
can make
slipped
more
up
money
once and you've-
than a salary.
Hit the share button.
One of the reasons the poor are
Wish they were
poor
in your shoes.
is because the
The
poor
first
are not
event will be an
trained to
unexpected
recognize
sum-
Because they
the
know the value
entrepreneurial
of real love,
opportunity.
real
They
friendships.
spend a lot of
Show
time
zero
in school,
emotion,
and what they
acting
learn
tough
in
or
school
detached.
is to work
Times
for a
as needed,
salary
just to make
instead
sure
of
you're
working
okay.
for themselves.
Welcome.
Profit is better
took
than
strength to
wages
let go.
because wages
Not because
can
I stopped.
support you. But
Speaks
profits
ill of
can
you
make you a
behind your
fortune.
back.
If
3,
you don't
we are
learn
not
to
allowed to yell at
recognize
each other.
opportunities,
We can disagree,
you will
but
continue
not
to
yet.
choose the
I never
safe
lost
path
feelings for you.
rather than the
I just
profitable
realized you
one.
didn't want me.
Don't
We
forget
can work
to
through
follow
whatever
us.
it is. But only
I don't
if we're
understand
open
our
to the
relationship.
Arrow to share
Sometimes
the
we're
sixth
friends,
person who
sometimes we're
appears.
more. And sometimes
Nothing
I'm
you say
just a
will change
stranger
her
to
mind,
you.
because
One
she
minute
already
you
left
treat me
me.
like I'm special,
She
and the
doesn't need a
next you
crowd
act
to
like
feel
I don't matter.
important.
One day
You're
you give me
not
lots of
alone.
attention,
She's still with
and the
you,
next day
just
you
on the
ignore
other
me.
side.
Don't play with my feelings because you're
and
unsure
only
about
thinks
yours.
about having you about
It's confusing how our connection
Do you want to
changes
know?
all the time, leaving
If
me
you want-
uncertain.
A place full of
I wish
light,
things were
peace,
consistent
and love.
and stable
She's
between
calm.
us.
Let's fix this.
I'm willing to be a friend,
I
something
don't want to
more,
lose you.
or step
You'll be
back as a
moving,
stranger.
bestie.
But
Moving
the
to the
ups and
big house.
downs are too much. Faith. I deserve clarity
Walk in
and
truth.
respect. If
Keep
you're
your
unsure
heart
about
right.
us, please
Skip
talk to
this
me
video
openly.
if you love the devil.
It's better than
If you
leaving
love
me
Jesus,
guessing and
stay
feeling like
up.
an
About your
option.
name.
I
But
won't
if
be
you
a pawn
ignore
in a
this
game
video,
of uncertainty.
they'll move.
That you changed.
Let's either define what
really?
we are or go
She's
our
trying to
separate
just-
ways.
She will always want to text,
My heart
call,
deserves more
or see
than
you.
this constant back and forth between closeness
Number 7.
and distance.
She'll remember the little things.
Tired, confused, and
There is
drained. That's
someone
not what
lying
love
to
feels
you.
like.
And this
That's
lie
your
has
sign.
been going
You
on
do
for months.
what you say,
The
even how
worst
you
part
feel.
is that this
That's her
person
love
has no
language.
intention of telling you the truth
Number 3.
anytime soon.
If she sleeps
But do you
before,
Cut
want
off
to
that
know
bad
the most
energy.
curious part?
Hit the heart and tap the red plus
Click
under
on the
my
red
picture
cross
to
below
view
my
here.
photo so
I'll
you
still
can find
be
out
here
who it
for you.
is.
I'll still
And
lend
now
you
do
my
the
show up
following.
character
Click
as a
on the
trap.
heart.
Don't
then
be
on
the
the share
woman who
arrow,
leaves gold
and
to
look
ch-
at
When a
who is
girl
the
loves
fifth
you, she will
person
be
on
so
your
attached
WhatsApp
to you.
list.
She'll always want to call
There
you.
is someone
Thanks for
lying to
watching.
you.
Stay
And this lie has
blessed.
been going on for months.
not because
The
she wants
worst
to
part
control
is
you,
that this person has
but
no
because she cares
intention of
about
telling
you.
you the truth
Peso que
anytime
cargas hace
soon.
tiempo, ¡pum!
But do you want to know
Se
the
va.
most curious
chase
part?
or tolerate half love.
Click on the red cross
So
below
yes,
my
I
photo
made a
so you
mistake.
can find out
Si
who it
dejas
is.
pasar este
And
video,
now do the
esa
following.
energía
Click
se
on the
rompe.
heart.
Hicimos este
Then
acto
on the share
profético.
arrow. And
Cientos de
look at who is
personas
the fifth
regresaron para
person on your WhatsApp
Comparte
list.
este mensaje.
You're going
y
to have
sigue la
serious
cuenta
problems
para-
with a woman who is betraying your trust and talking badly about you behind
You
your
can find
back.
out who it is.
She seems close to
And
you,
now do the
and I'm
following.
going to reveal
Click
the
on-
first letter
Y
of her
lo
name
sé,
in this video.
porque me está quemando
Even
la
though she
lengua
shows affection
decirte.
towards
It's
you,
defensive
she's
and flips it
actually
on him,
envious and wants
making
you
him
to
feel
face
like he's the
difficulties.
problem.
To discover
Support,
who she
not
is and
judgment.
free yourself from her negative
Listen before
impact,
it's defensive
you
and
need
flips
to
it
tune
on him,
into the energy
making
of the
him
universe.
feel like he's the
Click
problem.
the
To
red
what
button
people
above
say
my photo
behind your
to
back.
make this connection.
A lion never
this woman
looks
is
back.
jealous of your
Let me make
kindness
one
and
thing clear.
generosity,
I don't care
qualities
how
you have
important
that
you
she
are to me.
lacks. She wants to see you in tough situations because she recognizes your
When you
bright
see someone
aura.
who is always
To
calm,
break this bond of envy,
incredibly
type
kind,
thanks in
forgave
the
you
comments
even when you
so the
didn't
power
say
of the
sorry.
universe can free you
But
from
that
her
burden
negative
for love.
influence.
I learned
now,
to stop
I'm
fighting
going to
for
reveal
people
the
who didn't
initial
fight
of her
for me.
name.
Truth speaks
But
louder
first,
than
press the
promises.
heart until it turns
A man who
red.
truly cares
When you
with you
click
or
the green
set you
share
up for
button,
something she
the
knows
sixth
you'll
person on
fall
your
for
list has the
in
same
order to-
initial as this woman who is betraying your trust. If you believe in the power
I'd
of the
probably
universe,
leave myself
show
too.
your trust by
But here I
typing
am,
thanks
trying
in the
about other
comments.
women in your life
You're going to
and
have
accepts
serious
everything with
problems
an
with a
it's
woman.
okay. Or they can talk about
Success
it.
is not
But they
about
can't stop what
never
God-
falling, but about rising every time you fall. Each time you get up, you grow stronger and closer to your goals. Remember, every setback is a setup for your comeback.
I trust that you're going.
I don't think you understand how much I truly care about you. Yeah, I'm annoying, I'm
Never let
stupid,
your
I
woman
make
keep
dumb
a male
decisions
best friend.
sometimes.
Save.
But that's because how you make me
this
feel.
video a lot.
Okay?
You'll
Not
make
talking
Jesus
to you
happy.
makes
And
it feel
before
like
this
it's
week
the
is
end of
out-
my world, okay? But that's
But you
because I'm
hold
clean.
the
That's the
power
type
to
of
break
guy I
this
am.
curse.
And not every guy is like that. Some just don't give a fuck what you're
possible
doing.
that it's someone
They don't
who
give a fuck if
Number
you don't
2,
talk to them. They don't give a
a
fuck
woman
if you
who
text
wants you
them.
for your money
All they
and
give a
brings
fuck
you-
is, hey,
She's
they're my
family.
girl and
The
I
one who
claim
shows
them.
up,
But I'm
stays
not
late.
like that.
Don't value me.
I wish I could truly show you the genuine care and love that I have for you. I want to make you feel like the most important girl in my world. Like no other girl competes with you. Because baby girl, you got my attention.
Without
But there's no way that I could truly show you that. Show you what I'm seeing in you, what I'm feeling about you.
Join
Maybe
us on our
one
journey
day,
by following.
just
Here's
one
how
day,
you'll know
I'll be
this
able to show
message
you
is
how
meant for
important
you.
you are.
Tap the green.
But today,
Don't trust
you will be
anyone.
graced with a miracle gift
Life
to this
is full
video
of
will
fake
be
people who
reciprocated.
pretend
I know
to
this
care.
because they are
But
the
when you woman need buying them the you most, gift means they're
nothing.
nowhere to be found. That is hurt.
First,
but
follow
it
me so we
teaches
don't
you
lose
to
this
trust
connection.
yourself.
Of icon,
That keep
and your
your
sixth
heart
contact
safe.
has the same initial as
Don't
You're thinking
trust
about
anyone.
giving it another go, go all
Life
in.
is full of
Let them
fake
know they're
people
worth
who
it.
pretend to
Seeing
care.
your insecurities
But when you
and
need
offering
them
you
the
comfort.
most,
or
they're
how many
nowhere
times
to
we
be
stop
found.
talking.
That is
You are
hurt.
still going to be
But
my
it
correctly.
teaches you to trust
Take someone
yourself.
special.
That keep
It takes
your
a
heart
patient
safe.
About you. He's starting
Careful.
to realize that
Take
he
a
made the
deep
mistake.
breath and check
Your
the
friends.
first contact that
Keep in
appears
mind
in
that
your
people
WhatsApp
have their
list.
own interests.
Because I have something to
You
tell
lose
you
my
about
trust.
this person.
People come
and
go.
I'm sure you're not
And what happens
expecting
in
it.
this case scenario
But first,
is you
click
end
on my
up
photo
losing
together
and
and
tap
look
the
forward to
plus
all the adventures
keep
that
this
await us.
connection between
Is
us
the second
strong.
person you see when
Done
you use
that?
WhatsApp
Great.
to share this video.
Now let's go.
And as soon as the money is
Open
gone,
that first contact.
so is the respect.
Yes,
Count.
that one.
You must press the
Because
button
there's
below
one
my photo
important truth
and
you
write
need to hear
moment
about
to
this
strike
person.
and bring chaos into your
This
life.
person
You need to
really
And
loves
every
you.
twist and turn is
They
shaping
care
you into the
deeply
incredible.
about you.
Wanted to stay.
They want to be near you. They admire you.
Watching how they show
respect
up.
you.
In
And
the
they
world
would
when
do
there's nothing to
anything just
can
to
truly
see you
have an
happy.
impact.
They don't
Tap
say
the
it
heart.
all the
fury
time,
has been intense,
but wherever
but
they
victory
are,
is certain.
whether at work,
Once you do this,
on the street,
protection will
or lying
surround
in
you,
bed,
and her evil
you're
intentions
constantly
right here in this
their
video.
thoughts.
Doubts?
So don't let
No
small
worries.
things create distance.
Tap the green button
This
in the corner of
person
the
is
screen
special,
to share the video.
and they're in
on
your
And why
life
people
for a
decide to walk
reason.
away.
Comment
I can't
love
shake the
right
feeling that if
here
I-
to honor that
Respecting
energy,
the
and I'll
relationship.
send a little blessing from the universe to strengthen your connection.